Now, you may recall from my Lego Space 1999 Eagle Transporter efforts that I was inspired by an ancient Dinky toy of the Eagle that I once owned when I was little. And in researching the Eagle, I came across a site that details various other starships and the like that Dinky produced down the years. And I went into my local vintage shop just this weekend, and something caught my eye which I hadn't actually been looking for, and it's in this little paper bag here. And this is the last toy that Dinky ever produced. This is a Trident Starfighter, which is model number 362, where my Eagle was 359. Now, to my knowledge, this wasn't featured on any show. This particular example of it is not in any way, shape or form complete. There should be a missile that fired here, which was launched using that button. Little cockpit piece here. There would have been print stickers here, and on the tail, and the landing gear is still in pretty good nick on this one. You can see there it says Dinky Toys Trident Starfighter on the underside of the wing. That was sort of Dinky's way of things, and sadly this was the last thing that they produced. And it's got little steps that come down, so that would be, it doubles as both the landing gear and the way in which the pilot would have got up into the ship. Now, although this didn't, to my knowledge, appear in any of the Jerry Anderson shows, it did remind me of a fighter called the Hatchet Fighter from Buck Rogers in the 25th century, because it's got this similar sort of two wings. I know it's space, it's still got wings, and a very sort of tall, thin approach to it. And this is all metal. It's heavy as all hell. That's a real chunk. And there were a couple of these actually. One of them had slightly worn stickers on, but I went for this one because I felt it was in better overall condition. I mean, they were sort of fully black originally. There was a very rare gold edition as well, apparently, that was released in a very limited fashion, but that was it. So, as I say, I wasn't particularly looking for it, but I tripped across it, and I recognised it from my travels on the site that I've linked in the description. Which is a treasure trove if you're interested in these sort of old merchandise from the sort of late 70s, early 80s. This Starfighter was current in the sort of 78 to 80 era, and it was basically the last one that was produced before the factory closed down, which is sad. But you know, this is off on the way a bit, and at that time Star Wars toys were flooding the market. So unfortunately, Dinky was on a bit of a losing struggle there, because there was no way they could compete with that, sadly, given the popularity of Star Wars and the fact they didn't have a license for Star Wars. So that they were kind of stuck there, unfortunately. The only other thing that I picked up whilst I was there was this rather nice TIE Fighter, which was still in a little bit of a backing. You can see there's a nice Death Star lurking in the background there. You can just about make that out. It seems to have come, if I were to guess, I don't know, it's a strange one. It says they're De Agostini, and I seem to remember they were into magazines. It seems to be about 14 years old, so I've no idea if this is anything special or not. But I just saw it was in the mixed bag sort of box, and it's, you know, it's still sealed, and it's a nice size. You know, it's not one of these sort of teeny tiny micro machine TIE fighters. It is a very good size. So it's just sort of standard TIE fighter. Nothing. It's not Darth Vader's or anything. It's just a standard TIE. But I really liked it, so I grabbed it. I felt it would be rude not to, as I often do. Didn't really see anything else in there that caught my eye at that time round, but the stock's always changing, so I try and pop in from time to time. it's one of those fascinating shops, and I was telling the owner, I chuckled to myself because when I went in, there was this poor lady who'd been sat on a chair, who was clearly the wife, and her husband was sort of in his element, and she was just sitting there counting the seconds away, bless her. So I felt for her, but such is life, I suppose. But great shop to browse round. If you're of my sort of era, or before indeed. I was definitely not the oldest visitor to the store whilst I was there, so it's nice to see people enthusing about the stuff that makes them happy. So yeah, so I just thought I'd show you that as a little bit of historical interest there, given that that's what I'd picked up, and I'll add that to my small collection of diecast. I was very pleased with myself though, because I didn't get a Moonraker shuttle, which I had my eye on, because I couldn't convince myself as to whether or not I already had it, but I do already have it, and I've still got the satellite inside it as well, so I'm glad I didn't repeat that one, because that would have been a somewhat pointless exercise on my part. So yeah, so I'll leave it there, and if I come across anything else interesting, obviously I will post another video up in due course. Cheers for now.